Hey YouTube, Crawford Farms LLC is back. Sorry it's taken so long to record another video, but it's been very busy out here on the farm. I wanted to come in and let you know about some of the observations I've noticed, the difference between the chicks and the ducklings so far. This is our first time having ducklings. We've had chicks for over a year now, so we've been able to, have them, let them grow up, get another flock, do the same process all over again. And I just wanted to let you know some of the differences that I've noticed thus far. So one thing is the maintenance. So chicks are pretty easy going, at least in my opinion they are. They're pretty low maintenance. Make sure they have their feed, make sure they have their water, and then just change out their bedding from time to time and they're good to go. Ducklings, however, I've noticed I've had to do a lot more upkeep for them. They have that niacin deficiency. Unfortunately, the chick that I made my last video about, even though we went and got the medicine for her or him, it wasn't given to the poor chick, the poor duckling, fast enough, and so that duckling unfortunately did not make it. I did learn also that ducks, if their pens aren't clean well enough, that they can get an illness from that as well. And so shortly after that duckling passed away, about 2 days later, I had another duckling that started to go lame, and I was like, wait, what is going on? So I had to do some research. I quickly tried to go ahead and clean out their pens more than what I was doing, but over time it's gotten to the point where I was like cleaning out their pens at least twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, depending on how much mess they made with their water. It was just a lot. I said that past tense like I'm not still doing it, but I promise we are. I just noticed that there was a lot more maintenance and upkeep with them. So I tried to give them more opportunities to go outside for their field trips, where I would have them in a little pen where they could, eat and forage outside versus being in their brooders all day long. And so that seemed to work out a little bit better for them. But still, because of their poop that squirts everywhere, I'm sorry y'all, it's nasty. They're so cute, but it's gross. It's just a lot harder to keep everything clean for them because they're squirters. I have one that, no lie, I have heard the duckling shart a couple of times. At first I thought it was just my imagination, but I heard the noise and then I looked behind it, and sure enough, it was there. You can hear them when they're doing their business. It's nasty. So brings me to the next point, noise. I've noticed that chicks are quite noisy. The older they get, the bigger they get, the louder they become. And by 6 weeks, you're like, okay, I'm ready for them to go out in their coop because they're making way too much noise up in this house. It depends on how many you got. But if you got at least 20 of them, you're going to be ready for them to go outside because they are loud. Ducks, however, I've noticed that the ducklings, they don't really make a whole bunch of noise. They're pretty low-key and chill. The only time they really make noise is when they're trying to let you know, like, hey, I need some more food, I need some more water. But aside from that, unless there's something wrong, they don't do a whole lot. They're pretty low-key, and that's one positive about them. They're like, I don't, you have to check on them more often. It's like, you okay in there? I was like, they're a little too quiet. Let me make sure nothing's dead. They were fine. They were just hanging out, chilling, doing their own thing. Also, by the 3rd week, we're on week 3 right now with our ducklings, and I've noticed that their peep, 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 peep noises are starting to turn into some quacks. It's really cute. It's not like an obvious quack right now, but every now and then it's like, hey, that wasn't a peep, it was like a quack, 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 quack. Like they're trying to get to that point where they're quacking more so than making the peep noise, but it's really cute to see how fast they're developing. How they get along with others is another thing that I find interesting. With chicks, they're kind of cliquey. So like they have their pecking order. Like they want to let you know who's in charge and who's going to, rule everything. So they peck the crap out of each other, which is pretty mean. But at the same time, like if they know all of each other, then if somebody else comes in, they're just kind of like, you're not a part of our clique, buzz off. And I know this right now because I just recently got some adult chicks from someone else, and I put them in. I know you're supposed to wait at least 30 days, but time is of the essence right now, okay? So I took a chance. I know it wasn't probably the best thing to do, but I took a chance and I did it anyway. So I introduced them way earlier than I was supposed to. I put in my older adult chicks with my young chicks, and it was interesting to see how they're getting along with each other. Like the older ones clearly are like buzz off with the little ones. The little ones are trying to kind of run it away. You know, they're finally getting it all together now. The first few days was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? But now it's to the point where they're like, okay, they have their routine down. They're doing their thing. But I noticed that they're very cliquey. Like the little chicks, they got their own little squad over. There's some that roost up on an area. There's some that are just running around crazy, like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to be doing? And then the big ones, as soon as I open the pen, they're just like, you know what, we're outside. This is our area. We're claiming this territory. Don't come out here unless you want to deal with the peck, okay? Stay up there in the coop. This is our territory. So they're kind of territorial. It's interesting to see their dynamic. Whereas with ducklings, they kind of work together. It's really sweet. Like they all want to be together. And so even the duckling that, getting back to my sick duckling, the second sick duckling that I got did survive. It is a little unfortunately deformed at the legs and the feet area. The feet are very deformed, but so it walks on its legs versus on its feet. But it's thriving now. Like I don't know exactly how to straighten and fix the feet situation, but just having some time away from the other ducklings, getting some extra niacin care and some extra food, and I don't know, having some time away from the other ones really helped it to get itself together. And then when it did get back with the rest of the other ducklings, it was just like, hey, I'm good. And so it's smaller than the others, but it's surviving, it's doing its best thing. I mean, it's working, it's thriving, it's doing the best that it can. And it's getting along well, and it seems to be very happy. And I thought that was really cool. Anyways, but the ducks, I noticed, stick together. Even with the little one that has a harder time walking, you know, they kind of wait for that one and make sure that it's able to keep up with them when they're going from area to area, but they walk in their little pack. They're like a little herd. They have to be together. Water. Chicks don't like to get wet. That's a given. You know, they only want their water for drinking purposes. Ducklings, that's another reason why maintenance is so important with ducklings, because they love the water so much. They're not just going to get their bill and their nostrils wet. They're going to dunk their whole body in. They're going to poop in the water and then drink the water. So make sure that you use you use a water container that they can't put their whole body in, because unless it's really hot out and you just want them to have a quick little bath, but then take it away, because then they're just going to get gross, and it's something. But they're very entertaining, I will say that. Ducklings, they are quite different from chicks when you're watching them in their element. It's just like, what are they doing? But it's so cute and it's so funny. So it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, some people are like, yeah, team chicks, and some are like team ducklings, but they're both really cute. They have their different ways of doing things, and it's been really interesting to see the difference between the two so far. One of the other big differences that I've noticed is their growth rate. With chicks, you know, you can tell from week to week that they're getting bigger. By like their down starts to come off, and they're starting to gradually develop their little feathers and such, and they go through this awkward morphing phase. Ducklings do too, but I will say that with the ducklings, from week to week, you can clearly see how much bigger they're getting. So yes, they're losing their down and they're kind of developing their feathers too, but they have gotten huge so far. So like they're only on their third week, but no lie, my ducklings are now about this size. So like the brooder box that I've had them in, now when I have them in there, they're looking at the top of it. Their heads are sticking out and they're like, what's going on? You coming to bring me my water? Where's my food? You know, what's up? Whereas with the chicks, you know, you just have to make sure you have that lid on them, because they're going to try and fly out. The ducks can't necessarily fly out, but they're huge already. It's like, my goodness. So by the 7th week, they're definitely going to have to be outside in their own little enclosure, because they're not going to be able to stay in the brooder like what they're in right now. Resilience. I would say that from what I've observed with my chicks in the past year, I've unfortunately had quite a few losses, some with my dogs being involved with it. You know, if they fly over a coop, they catch them by their neck, that's it, they're gone. Unfortunately today, I had my ducklings out doing their thing and I was watching them. I went inside to get something, I come back out, I'm like, what the heck? They grabbed the dogs, got one of my little ducklings. I guess they got it from underneath the little pen that I had it in. And they did it on the neck, and I just knew that my duck was gone. I quickly, you know, cleaned it up, got some bandages, wrapped it up and everything, and I was just waiting. I was like, this is it, it's over. And my duckling is still out there doing its thing. I've got the bleeding to stop. It's out there with the rest of the ducklings, still eating, still drinking, still wandering around, kind of like nothing's happened. It's just like, you're not supposed to be here. I don't know. But those are just some of the things that I've noticed thus far with the differences between chicks and ducklings. I'm not saying I necessarily like one more than the other, or that I'm trying to tell you to choose one more than the other, but I will say I'm enjoying watching the ducklings grow and getting to know a different type of pet. However, I do not see myself in the future getting more ducklings. Like, they are great, they are cute, they are lovable, but they are so much work. So if you are willing to, you know, switch those pins out 2-3 times a day in this North Carolina heat, or whatever, wherever you live, because it may not be as hot where you live, then kudos to you. I swear there was somebody who made a video that said that ducklings were easier to maintain. I don't know exactly what they were doing, but I don't find that to be true. I find that raising chicks has been a lot easier for me than raising my ducklings. But I am glad that I've had the opportunity to do both. And now that I know the difference between the two, I know which breed works better for me, which poultry works better for me, chickens or ducks. I say that in the future, if I do get any more, I'm going to get chickens versus getting my ducklings, just because I'm used to them. I know their routines. I know what works, what doesn't work for them. And with ducklings, it was just you know, you gotta keep trying things, you gotta keep researching until you have found your rhythm, and I have not found my rhythm. So for now, I'd say that I'm not gonna do ducklings again. Who knows, maybe further down the line I might try it again, but I'm gonna let these guys grow up and we'll see what happens, and I'll try and keep you guys posted on how things go with the rest of this process. Thank you for watching. Bye.